in this video, we are going to be looking at a protractor, how to use a protractor, the main parts of a protractor, and then doing some measuring. So you may have noticed there's a protractor on the screen here that goes from 0 to 180. There are a few main parts that we need to consider. First of all, the baseline. The baseline is this line down here at the bottom of a protractor. So you can see it just goes all the way along and it helps you line up your protractor with the angle. There's the origin. Now the origin of a protractor is where all of these lines, so I might just pick a random one here. So this one here, this one here, this one here. All of these lines meet at a specific point at the bottom in the center. Now that is the origin. You may notice that the lines actually stop a bit early. That's not the case for all protractors, but in this case it's usually quite useful because then it allows you to look through your protractor to find the angle that you're actually looking at. So that's the origin. And you line it up with the vertex, which we're going to look at in this video. And then the main thing you might notice is there's two scales. There's a 0 here and there's a 0 here. There's an outside scale which starts at 0 on this side, and there's an inside scale which is a bit smaller that starts on the right hand side of the origin. And you can see these scales go all the way around up to 180, and then the other scale as well just goes all the way around. So it starts from 0 here and then goes all the way up to 180. Now we need to distinguish between both of these and make sure we pick the right one when we're measuring angles. So this direction here for the outside scale, if you imagine a clock with hands, this is going clockwise, so the outside scale is clockwise, and then the inside scale is going the other way. So we would say that's the anti-clockwise scale. So I'll just show you a quick example here. So I'm just making a quick angle. Now as I put the protractor, I line up the vertex and the origin. So the vertex of the angle is this bit here. The origin of the protractor is that bit there. So if I line them up, you can see I can then decide, I have to decide which scale to use. Do I start on the outside or do I start on the inside? And that's what we're going to look at on the next slide here. So we've got angles which are facing different directions. This one's facing right and this one's facing left. Obviously angles can face any directions, they might face up, etc., but you can usually just turn the page so that the base of your angle is horizontal. Now in this angle here, an angle facing left, if we needed to measure it, you'd put your protractor and you'd line up the vertex here, sorry, the origin with the vertex there. So you can see the base line of the protractor is lined up with the base of the angle, and then I'm going to put them right on top of each other, the vertex and the origin. And then from there, I can see, I need to decide which angle to use. So the angle's here. This is the angle I want to measure. Now, I'm always going to start from 0. So in this case, it's obvious that I'm going to be using the outside angle. If I start at 0, then I'm using the big scale, and I can see it goes all the way up to 40. That's quite easy to read, so we can say that's 40 degrees. Or if you want to label it just in a slightly nicer way, we might just move the protractor out of the way and then just label this 40 degrees. Now, if the angle is facing the other direction, you still do the same thing at first. You line up your origin with your vertex. So you can see there's your protractor lined up. The baseline is also lined up. And then you can measure, deciding where 0 is. You always start from 0. So that's going to be, in this case, the inside scale. And we're going to use the inside scale. So you can see it goes all the way up to here, and then it touches at 50. So it goes exactly through 50. So in this case, if we move our protractor out the way, we can say that this angle here is 50 degrees. So deciding whether to use the clockwise or anti-clockwise scale will depend on where 0 is. So you want to start from 0, and we're going to practice this in the next part of this video. So here's an example, and I'm going to do a few of these. All you have to do here is read the green angle using the protractor that's already lined up for you. So in this case, the green angle we want is this bit here, or I've just made it red, but you can see this angle here, that's the one that we want. So use the scale. So I'll help you out with the first one. So remember, we always start at 0. So in this case, we're just going to go up, and I can see it goes exactly through 40. So this is going to be 40 degrees. Right, measure the following angle using the protractor. Okay, so you may have spotted here, in this case, we start at 0, which is the inside scale. We go from 0 all the way up to 60. So this is exactly 60 degrees. Okay, pause the video for the next few questions. I'm just going to slowly go through these. Okay, so you should have had a go. In this case, remember, we're going in this direction. We're going anti-clockwise, so we're going to use the and we start at 0, so using the inside scale. So I can see it goes all the way around and then it stops here. So that is 150 degrees. And the next question, pause the video and have a go. Okay, so in this case, we're going to go clockwise. So you start from 0, which is the outside scale, and we're going to go all the way around until we get here. So that is 110 degrees. Pause the video and say what angle this is. So I can see straight away this is going to be, it goes straight up and it's lined up. So this is actually a right angle. So this is going to be 90 degrees. We could have technically, in this case, come the other way as well, and you would have got the same answer. Okay, what angle is this? Pause the video and have a go. Okay, so I can see it goes clockwise. I start from 0, so using the big scale, and I can see it goes 60. Now there's a little mark here that's 65, and then there's one more to the right of that. So this is 66 degrees. Okay, next one. Pause the video and have a go. What's the measurement of this angle? Okay, I'm going to now have a go here. So remember, we always start at 0, so we're using the inside scale, going all the way around. Now I'm going to need to read the scale carefully here, because essentially it goes from 80 and then there's 2 units to the left. Now, but we're not using the 80, we're using the 100. So it's 100 plus 2 steps. So 1, 2. So 102 is going to be your answer. 102 degrees. Here's your next question. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, so remember, we're going to go this direction here, which is clockwise. If you're going clockwise, you always start from 0 on the outside, so you're going to use the outside scale. And in this case, we get that's 30. And then I need to figure out, if that's 30, how many more steps have we taken? That's 1, 2, 3. So 33. Oop, that's wrong. Sorry, we're using the outside scale. I meant to say 150 plus 3. So it's 153 degrees is your answer, not 30. Okay, next one. Pause the video and have a go. Read the scale. All right, so remember, we are going this direction. So 0 starts on the inside, so anti-clockwise. And using that, we are going to measure using the inside scale. If that's 40, then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 44 degrees is your answer. So use the big scale sometimes to help you measure that. Okay, next one. Read the scale here. Okay, so hopefully you've had a go. You may have also noticed this one is not necessarily a trick question, but it's just not really good use of a protractor. What you should try to do is turn the protractor so that it's actually lined up where the baseline of the protractor is at the base of the angle. But in this case, just for giggles, we're going to just use this method here. So I know that this is 40 degrees. I'm going to use the outside scale here because technically we're not starting at 0, so it's easier to use the outside scale. So that's 40, and the outside scale here is 120 degrees. So all I need to do is work out the difference between these two. So 120 take away 40, that's going to give you 80 degrees. The other way you might do it, which is perhaps a bit longer, is just to count. So I can see that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. That's 80 degrees. If we wanted to make it easier, we would have lined up our protractor. Okay, we'll do a quick recap here. Key things that you've already learnt. We've got clockwise scale, the outside scale and the inside, anti-clockwise scale, baseline, origin, and then when you have an angle itself, you've got a vertex of the angle and then the two arms which make the angle itself. So we'll do a quick true or false, deciding whether this is a good example of good practice. So is this a good way of measuring this angle here? So I would say the vertex and the origin is lined up nicely. I would say that the correct scale is 0 on the, it's 0 on the inside, and then when you measure your angle here, it's going to go to 75. So I'm going to say yes, this is a good use of protractor. Is this a good use of a protractor? Pause the video and think. Okay, so I can see firstly the origin and the vertex are lined up, the red dot and then the protractor, so that's lined up nicely. And then I can see we're going to use the inside scale, the anti-clockwise scale, and that goes to 40. Now the protractor is being used well, but the wrong scale is being read. So we're not using the outside scale, we're using the inside scale because we have to start at 0. So this, I would say, is good use of protractor, but not good interpretation. So that should be 40 degrees. Okay, next one. Is this a good use of protractor? Pause the video. Okay, so I would say it's lined up really well. We are counting or measuring the turn anti-clockwise, so we're using the inside scale. The scale is perhaps not read very well because it should be 40 degrees on here rather than 36, so it's a bit too far off. Okay, next example. Is this a good way to measure this angle here? So the baseline is lined up. I can see it's a straight line 180, so I'm going to say yes, this is correct. How about this example here? Not a common mistake, but definitely not good use of a protractor. Just be careful to make sure to line up the origin with the vertex, which is the red dot there. So really the protractor should not be here. This person lined up the scale with the vertex of the angle when it should be the origin, so it should have been placed here. If it was placed here, you would have then been able to measure it, and starting from 0, if we're going all the way up, you can see it goes to 55 degrees, just about 55 degrees. It is exactly 55 degrees. Okay, next one. Is this a good use of a protractor? So we can see again, not really. What you want to do is make sure that the arms of the angle, one of the arms should be the base, should meet the base of the protractor. So I'm now going to rotate this protractor just to make it a little bit easier to measure. So if we rotate this so that the base lines up. And then you'll be able to see that the angle, the angle is starting using the inside scale at 0. So that's going to go up to 50, not 130. We always start at 0 when the baseline is lined up. So this wasn't a good use, and the angle wasn't correct either. Okay, next example. This demonstrates good use of a protractor. What do we think? We can see it's not lined up, so we're going to need to change this. You would line it up. However, the angle that's been measured is correct, so you can actually see it's going to be 10, 20, 30 degrees, or 130, take away 100. It's going to give you the same answer. Okay. What do we think about this use of protractor? So I can see it's lined up well. We're using the outside scale because it starts from 0 and it goes to 110, 115. So that measurement is correct. However, you may have spotted it's not in centimeters. You measure angles in degrees. So it should say 115 degrees. Make sure you get the units correct. Otherwise you lose easy marks. Next example here. Is this a good way of using this protractor? So again, you can see 180 degrees is the angle here. We're not measuring a length. You can't measure lengths with a protractor, so that should say 180 degrees. This example here, is that accurate? Pause the video. Now, if you look very carefully, I'm not sure if you're able to see this on the video itself, but actually that's a pretty accurate measure, 172.5. You are allowed to have decimal angles. You just very, very rarely come across them. I don't think that you will ever come across them, but they do exist and you are allowed to have them. So in this case, you can see the line is just in between 172 and 173, so 172.5 would be fine. If you were asked to measure this in an exam and you wrote 173, plus or minus 2 degrees, you would get full marks. Okay. Just a quick recap of how to measure angles. Put the baseline of a protractor with the baseline of the angle. Use the appropriate scale. So either the inside or the outside, always start at 0 and then measure. That's it really. Now there is a worksheet where you're meant to measure these angles. If you have it, great. I'm not sure you can really do this on a screen, so I'm just going to put this on here. If you want to screenshot it or if you want to print it or you just want to ask me, just ask for the worksheet. I can send it to you. These are the answers to the worksheet. And I think that is it for measuring angles and using a protractor. I hope that was useful. I'll see you in the next angles video. Smash the like button.